Ann Cornick from Paint and Porcelain Exchange. I'm here to teach beginners how to get started in China painting, but if you've been painting a while, I hope you'll paint along with us as we try some new things. And for me, the plums are a new thing. That's what we're going to be doing today. One of my favorite books is Pass Me Another Plate by Wanda Clapham. And if you don't have this book and you're a beginner, you should probably go out and look for it. This is the soft cover. There's also a hard cover. I don't know that it's being published anymore, but you can certainly find it like on Amazon. I have found it on Amazon and other places. And I think it's important to have one book that you feel is really the book that you can understand. And the way she explains things and the pictures she has are very easy for me. So this that I did is actually based on one of her paintings that's in this book on plums. And I followed her colors, sort of. I changed some of them because I thought I knew better, but I actually think I kind of agree more with some of her colors now. So let me just talk you through why I normally paint two things. If you're a teacher or a new teacher like I am, because I've only been teaching for 5 years. A lot of you have been teaching a lot longer, and I really respect that. I think pretty much anyone can teach. If you can paint and you understand the basics of using China paint, you can paint. You can show somebody what you know. And you don't have to be a teacher in order to do that. Just showing someone how to put the oil on their brush and that kind of thing. Telling them what oils you use, sharing your paints with them and giving them a chance to try it. That's teaching, okay? So the reason I did, I always do two, is, okay, this is what I ended up with, all right? Which I'm not too unhappy with, although I see things like I don't have enough highlights in it, and I know what I did. But this was the second fire. Okay, now look at this. Let me show you a couple of things. First of all, right here, you can maybe see it looks like I extended that plum. Yes, these plums are way too small. And I drew them. I don't trace. I usually, if I'm using somebody else's example, I will draw it because I want to learn how to draw it. And so I had to extend it. So what I did was, this is the plum I did originally right there. And this down here that looks like a shadow is the darkest color that I was using, which is a deep purple. And I just added it on this fire. And then on the third fire, I did 3 fires on this. And when I added it, now you see it doesn't really look like an add-on. That's one thing. Another thing is, you see this color around the edge? It's elderberry. I thought I would like it, so I thought I would try it because it's a tea tile. But I hated it. First of all, this picture does not do it justice. It was very grainy. It was very uneven when it went on. I used elderberry up in here, but this elderberry down here, that's 2 coats. And I don't know if I can get it in there close enough. You really can't see, but it was grainy and it was awful. So I decided I wanted to change it to a purple. Now, I didn't put a purple over it because I knew if I put a purple over it, it would be more hideous. So what did I do? I took Copenhagen blue and put over the edge. So I had this color and I put Copenhagen blue over it. And look what happened. It actually turned out more the way I wanted it to. And a color that was much more in keeping with the colors here. I just thought it worked out much, much better. Another reason I do 2 plates or 2 items, like I'll do one before I paint with you, is, see this up in here, all this junk? I really didn't like that. That was supposed to be elderberry, and then I tried putting purple in it to make it dark, and it didn't work. This worked much better for me right there. I put some Copenhagen blue over it and just pulled those out, and it was much better. So there are a lot of things you can do. I don't know if you can tell, but when I added depth at the middle here where the leaves come together, I used Copenhagen blue or royal purple. over the green. I like that combination. Those were some of the things I wanted to tell you about why I paint two different projects. I've got a bunch of colors on my my palette, and I'm gonna use probably a little bit of all of them. You don't need these colors. You need basics. So you need like a deep blue green and a dark purple. And maybe a Copenhagen. I found Copenhagen very helpful. So this is Copenhagen. I have a Russian green. That's what I tried when I did this tile. That's the light color you see on the plums there. I think it was a little too light and a little too unreal, so I'm not using that this time. I'm going to use my deep blue green here. Now, there are two kinds of deep blue green. There's the deep blue green that's more blue than green, and there's the deep blue green that's more green than blue. This is the one that's more blue than green, even though I see on the monitor it almost looks a little more green than it is in front of me. But that's what I'm going to be using. But I also kept this on here, which is real green, because I may decide I want a little bit of that color. Okay. Now, elderberry is what Wanda Clapham recommended. That's the one that I had around the edge of that piece that fired so grainy, this color around the edge. So I have it on here, but I'm thinking red grape for me works a little better. It is a different color. See the colors there? This has more blue and this doesn't. But I think red grape in moderation might work for me. Then I have cobalt. This is for the second fire or for the background, whichever I decide. It works pretty well. This is Copenhagen, and sometimes I can use cobalt to sort of brighten it. That's deep blue green. This is cool shadow over here. Boy, that looks different on the monitor too. Okay, I added a little yellow, but I kind of want it on the tops of the leaves where I have sunlight coming in. This is moss, shading green, and then of course I have my elderberry. So another reason to paint too is to decide what you want. As you can see on this one, when I got it done, my leaves look too flat. So I wanted to put some yellow, maybe up in here and maybe over on this side and that kind of thing. And so I'm going to do that on the plate. Brushes. I'm going to use this brush because my plate is this big. Now, it's an 8.5 inch plate. It has a border. This brush, I believe, is a 3/4 inch. 3/4 inch sharp. I love this brush. Love it, love it, love it. However, I do have my filbert here. And the filbert, the way you can tell it's a filbert is look at the top. See how the brush sides look worn, but they aren't. This is the way the brush was made. And then I have a smaller 3/4 inch. I mean a 1/4 inch. I think the sharps will be what I use. I could use a slightly larger brush, I think, for the plums, but I think my filbert will even work for that. So we'll try and see. I know you should work from backwards to forwards, and I'm going to try to do that. But for me, it's hard because I'm not a backwards to forwards gal. But I will try it. So I'm going to use my filbert. The secret to a lot of this is to mix it fresh. There's the elderberry. Yeah, I do like the elderberry better. And if you have one of these turntables, and you can talk to people, everybody said that they had the turntables available on Amazon. I haven't seen them, but you know, worst comes to worst, you could even use a Lazy Susan. I'm doing background. For those of you that have never painted before and are watching this, background is kind of an old-fashioned way of painting, I know. But I think on plates especially, it adds, and tea tiles, it adds a certain quality that you don't get anymore. And I'm filtering it out. See how I'm not going all the way out? I'm just trying to get it far enough away that it doesn't look like it's a line. And I'm back on my brush at the very edge of it. And when it starts to drag, that's when you need a little oil. Now look at how I'm fully loading my brush. I'll show you here. This is interesting. This is the way I learned in Canada. Your brush, you put it in, you pull down, and you squiggle a little like that. And that gives you a real nice coverage. Look at that. Look at how dark that is and how pretty that is. That's real important, I think. So I'm going behind everything. Now, I'm not normally a behind person, but when you're putting on a background especially, you kind of need to do that. Now, if you have a turntable and you're working on your turntable and you're moving it around, make sure that every once in a while you double check by pulling it forward and looking at it head on, because you may find you don't like the colors that you're putting on as well as you thought you did, or you may find that you're not putting them in the right spot. Like here, I want to pull it down a little more. There, it needs a little more pull. Here, it needs a little cross-hatching. You pull towards yourself, and you make X's. That's what cross-hatching is, okay? It also helps to smooth the paint as you do it. Alrighty, I kind of like that. I might want a little right here so it doesn't just stop. I'll put a little up in here. And then maybe a little right here. You don't want to see any lines where it stops. Like here, I've got a little bit of a line. I'm just going to tease it down. Here's a little bit of a line. I'm just going to tease it over. There's a little line. I'm going to tease it down. Okay, that's the first thing I did. Now I'm going to start, and these plums are behind this one. This plum is behind this leaf, but I'm going to start at the top and work down, just so I'm not trying to, well, maybe I should start at the middle and work out. Yeah, it looks like it. Because put your hand on and see. I haven't painted on a big plate in a while. And if I do this and I paint these, then what ends up happening? I put my hand right in it. Now, I'm going to keep going with the filbert. I'm having very good luck with the color. I'm side loading. This is a side load. It's doing little, I guess they're C's into the paint. And I'm using my deep blue green. I'm testing it on my tile because I want to make sure I don't have too much color on the brush. The key to this is to paint light. Paint light on the first fire. And think about, this is where you're deciding, where do I want my light to be? So my light on this, oh, I love this filbert. It's really doing a nice job on a big plate. I want my light to come across from left to right because I'm right-handed. I imagine if you're left-handed, it may be the other direction. So you have to decide. I'm going to do a little here. Why am I putting deep blue green on? Okay, you need kind of a highlight. And deep blue green as a color will give you a little bit of that highlight just because it's a lighter color. Okay, so keep that in mind. You kind of want something that's going to give you highlight. And if you don't leave white, the other option is to have a color that's going to do it for you. And that's why I'm using the deep blue green. So here, this is hidden by this. There'll be a shadow there. So I'm just pulling the color around this side. And you notice I'm leaving it kind of filtered. See that? I'm trying to, because I want it to look like a plum, and I want it to have a little, now I know plums don't have a lot of texture. They're very smooth. But I also want it to look like the skin of something. So that's why I'm doing this. Now, Wanda Clapham in her book suggested the next color you put on the plum is elderberry. I'm sorry, I really hate elderberry. So I'm going to go to the deep purple and just do that where I want it to be on this plum. I'm using a dark purple, rich purple, whatever you have, but it should have a blue cast to it because the colors you're using here are blue, okay? You see? You don't want a red purple. You want a blue purple because plums are a blue purple. And I don't want to come too far up, but I want to just touch it up there. This side does not have a little crease on it, kind of intentionally. I want these two to have a crease because I want them to be the stars. So I'm going to work from the back plums forward. So I'm side loading my brush, but I'm side loading it on this brush. It's about half. I don't know if you can see that or not. And I'm just putting it, so this plum if the light's coming this way, it's going to cast a shadow on that plum back there. So I'm just, oops, let me get this pulled over this way. Yeah, I'm just adding a little bit of a shadow. And now I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, this needs a little, I need oil. This needs a little more right here. So, you know, I am going to add a little elderberry. Something about this just kind of screams out for a little elderberry. There we go. This is a little elderberry there. Yeah, I kind of like that. All right, I'm going to add a little here. I like the pink tones. If it really comes across as pink, it'll be very pretty. A little elderberry up in here. All right, I don't want to mess too much. If you paint very dry, one of the problems you may have, and you can see I'm having a little of it here, is that when you paint very dry and you put a color over a color, it sometimes will create just a puddle where that color is, and you don't want that. So make sure that you, I'm going back into my purple now, make sure that you correct for that, okay? All right. There we go. Oh. I know I'm using a very unconventional brush. But the reason I'm using it is because it gives me kind of almost like a watercolor effect. And I like that. And when I paint with the filbert, I lift as I go. See? I'm just touching it and kind of doing C's and lifting as I go. And then going back and just lightly brushing it. I need a little more dark right here. There we go. I need a little more blue over here too. I lost the blue. Now don't keep playing because this is what I did the last time and I was not pleased with it. Okay. Now what about that crease in the middle? You can do it this time or you can do it next time. I'm taking a dry brush and I'm just going in and smoothing that a little. A little there, okay. I would use a square shader if you're going to add the purple down the center. The reason why is because you want to side load the square shader with your darkest color, which would be your purple. And if you know anything about plums, you have to come around this way in order to, it's almost like the center of a flower. Now I need a little more purple on there. It's like the center of a flower. You're pulling towards the center, and this is the center right here, this little crease. Now I lost that, and that makes me mad. I lost the nice highlight I had there. So I'm going to put it back in just using one of these. There. I'm not using a Q-tip because the Q-tip really wouldn't do me any favors there. It would just leave it kind of with a line. I actually tried a Q-tip on the practice one I did, and it didn't do what I wanted it to do. There, that's better. Now, I'm going to come around on this side of this one, and you're going to do little short, almost check marks with the dark purple into the center there, because you just want it to look indented, and then kind of tease it out like this. There, I like that. This I don't like. That needs to go down there a little more. There. Okay. And I lost my highlight over on this side here, so I'm just going to put it back in. Okay. Alrighty, those are my plums. Now, you notice down here, my plum got into my elderberry. I'm going to go back with a little elderberry. I'm just going to tease that so that I don't have the purple there, because I kind of went out of the lines. You have to be very careful. If you've already put your background in, you can wreck it if you do this. All right, now my leaves. My leaves I'm probably going to do with my large square shader. only because round things, this rounded edge brush is very complimentary to. But things like this where they're smooth on the edges, I think you do better with a, what is this, a square shader. So I'm going to try what I think, I don't know if this will work or not, but we'll see. I'm going to add my yellow first. Ooh, that's a bright yellow. That's okay. It does tone down, so I'm not too concerned about it being a bright yellow. I'm going to mix a little green with it. I'm going to put it up in here. I just want to establish where I have the color, the light coming across. Then I'll paint green over the top of it, and it should be okay. There. Maybe a little here. And here, it'll be kind of in here. There. And then down here, we're going to have some on that. Maybe a little there. Some on this. If you put your light in all the way through, I think what happens is it helps you, especially if you're a new painter, know where the color should be. Here, I have to take this. It's got the elderberry in there. Take that out for the branches. Now, branches, I've seen them done a number of ways. On this one that my mom's teacher did, she made them kind of a brown with a antique green. I like that, so I might do that. I don't really have antique green on my palette, though, so we'll have to see how this goes. I kind of forgot about that. All right, so maybe I'll just do a light green, and later on I can do second coat. I can do the brown with the antique. So let's take a little yellow, and I'm just going to put a little yellow where I want some highlight. I know where I know the highlight's going to be. Oops. I just noticed right here, I need to pull this down a little, right in there. Yeah, okay, that's better. And maybe a little yellow right there. Okay, oops, a little yellow here. All right. Now I'm going to just take a light green and put on this brand. Oh, wow, that didn't come out very light, did it? I got like a glob on there. I hate when that happens. So I'm just going to, just gently, using the very top, this part of my brush, I'm just going to pull it up, put it around there, just get the color in so I've got it in this time, and the next time I can modify it with a little bit of the colors I want, but this will give it a good base. And on the end, I want to just kind of let it go off into nothing. Okay, I think that works. Just smooth it a little. All right, and I will fix that next time. And same thing with the these down in here. I'll do them with a green with using a liner. Okay, going back to my brush. Full loading with moss, side loading with shading, and I'm doing my middle. I'm coming up to the middle. Now I'm just shading because this is on top of this. So since this is in the background, I'm making it a little darker. There we go. And then I'm just going to turn it around. It's a little bit like a rose leaf in that respect. Hang on, let me get this back on here. I kind of messed it up a little. Can you see? Yeah, you can. And then I'm going to go doomp, 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 doomp. Just a little. I know it looks like a lot right now, but honestly, when it fires, it won't be there as much. And when you put the next coat over it, it'll look even better. So Put your, if you can, put your veins in now. Keep it dark near the base. I kind of do a production line. So I come to the middle and then I go across. And while I'm doing it, I make my middle vein. And then I just, now here I'm going to need a little color on the end. So I'll use a little of the lighter color just to get the edge. And then I'll just like this. Because these have they have a multiple, like this, vein down the center. And if you put it in now, it's there. It might be a little harsh, but I think in the long run, it'll be fine. Now, if you don't like it, you can always just smooth it. So it's not quite so bad, quite so dark. But look at this here. We're going to do this. Come right into the center. You can do it this way too, you know, where your brush goes like that. That's kind of what I was doing. And that'll instantly give you the center of your leaf. And then just do the end here. And that one I may not put it on. These are more central, these side ones, I don't need to put it on necessarily. Now there's another way of doing this, as I recall, where you can do this along the leaf. And then do the same thing on this side. And then just fill in the edges. And that's fine too. So whatever you decide you want to do, I might actually do that here. I kind of think that might look better than what I've got. Let me see. There we go. I'm not going to play too much because this is only the first fire. And like I've told you a million times before, first fires, they count because you're laying the groundwork for everything else. But there's a lot you can do on future fires that you don't, if you don't get it done on this, don't worry about it. You're just setting it up this time. You're just making sure you've got the colors where you need them. I'm going to put a little more dark in here. Come here, you. Loading with a side load, and I'm just going to put the dark in there. There we go. So I remember that was flipped over. If I don't do that, it won't look like it was flipped over. And I might take this eraser or sponge and just, there, that's better. That's better. Let me do this one here. Yeah. Just trying to get a little bit of there. Highlight in. Yep. Okay, that's good. Now, I'm getting to the point where I need to put the rest of my background in before I do these leaves. Otherwise, I'll mess up the leaves. That plum looks a little too round. Do you know what I mean by that? Plums are usually more like this. Let me get my pencil out here. See, I would bring this down more like this. Let me see if I can do that. If you do it now and correct it now, you'll be better off because later on it won't work. Yeah. I know that this is in the way. Here, let's see if I can get rid of that. There. Okay. And then I'm going to, this side is a little, there. And push this side over a little. That's better. You don't want it to look like a Christmas ornament. See, this one's got a little point on the bottom that kind of helps it. This one, not so much, but we'll deal with it. Okay, now, cleaning my brush. I want to do my background. You can do it in Cope. You can do it in deep blue green. You can do it in Cobalt. I think I'm going to do a little bit of Copenhagen. Let's see what it looks like up in here. Yeah, see the Copenhagen up in here is a deep blue. I'm back to my pretty brush, my filbert. And you're just going to pull from the very edge of the color that you have there already out. You don't want to disturb it too much. You just want to give it a hint of color, and you want to just pull a little bit. If you pull out, don't pull this way, because if you do this, you're going to start putting the blue in closer than you need to. This way you can control it. Plus, as you go over the elderberry, it'll become a little more purple. Wipe on your towel if you get too much on, and then just keep wiping and keep playing, keep pulling. If you pull the paint away from where you don't want it and move it along, it'll do fine. That's still a little there. I kind of like that. It's not what I thought it would be at all, but I kind of like it. Now, I don't want to come down too far with the Copenhagen. Let me try the Cobalt. Ooh, I love the Cobalt. Cobalt might be a little too bright. We'll have to see. But I do love the Cobalt. See how it, compared to the, up here, okay, this is the Copenhagen. Do you see how this just has a little more of a kick to it? This is the color Cobalt I have too. This is what I'm using, but I'm only using it from the very edge. And there we go. It's very complimentary. I think it'll be pretty. I have a lot of these colors right now. I think I'm stuck in a loop. I've done blackberries, which are these colors, and so I think something like strawberries is probably our next project, because I can't afford to have too many things with the same colors. I always try to change it up. There we go. I want to make this a little, there, okay. Let me turn that up a little so you can see. Okay. So now this is Cobalt. I know it seems kind of weird that that's Cobalt, doesn't it? But if you play enough and just use the very edge of the Cobalt, you can get a really nice blue, and it's a stunning blue. It's a lively blue, so that it adds a little bit of, see, look at the difference. Here it looks a little dull, and up here it looks a lot more vibrant, I guess is what I want to call it. Now, a lot of people, this has a beautiful edge on it, by the way. I don't know if you can see it, but it has a magnificent edge on it. Very sweeping design that's just gorgeous. And I'm going to try to leave a little white. This is probably the hardest thing, is to fill in the background as you go. I'm way back on my brush, and I'm just taking it from the edge up and then from the top down a little and just mixing it. Okay, I got enough there. Oops, wait, a little more here. I need to add a little blue up in there, I think. Yeah, that helps. And I'm going to put a little more blue over in here. You almost don't want to stop the background when you're in the middle of doing it, because if you do, you could get lines if it dries up on you. But using the turpentine, it might. So, and I paint very dry, so you have to keep that in mind and think about it when you're painting. Don't stop, just keep going around. And then you can do the things that are caught in it, like the leaves and the branches. Okay, I'm going to come up in here. Oops. That was too, I got a big clump of the, see how I'm pulling it away? You can pull it with long strokes. You can pull it all the way out to the side. You don't have to be stuck with that just because you did that. I'm going to take a little bit of elderberry and just work it in here. There, I like that better. Yeah, you have to be sensitive about the background now because you're setting it up for the whole plate. You can add other colors, but this is the time to really get your background basics in, because otherwise you're going to have a problem later on with adding in some of the brighter colors that you want. They'll be the brightest now because you've got the white underneath them. As you add other colors on top of the colors you have here, they're going to change. And now clean that brush. I clean it in turpentine first, and then I dip it in turpentine natural, and that keeps it from drying out. Now, I forgot to mention that I do need this little guy. Actually, I've had better luck with this one. This is a sharp, of course. This is a, what is it? I don't know. It's a scroller. I know that. Okay. Alrighty. And I'm going to dip that in my darker green. Roll it around a little bit and just do these edges. Oops, I need to do these from the top down, I guess, because I want them to be thinner at the bottom. And you can't get them thinner at the bottom if you start at the bottom and work up, because you'll be dumping your paint on the part that you want it to be thin. So this way you run out of paint as you get down there. And here I want that. Let me go back up here. I have this, I have this, I have this. Okay. I have this. What is this mess up here? Oh, I see. This should attach to that. Okay. You have to think about these now. This should attach to this. This comes down here. Oops, I gotta come down. And this comes down to here and over here. The very edge of this plate, I'm gonna leave white so that I have a place to put my hand. You need more oil. Oil will help you, but don't get too much because it'll mess up your background on here. If you've worked hard to get the background the way you have it, don't do too much of the oil on your brush, or it will take your background. Oops, look what I did here. There we go. And here. Oh, it looks like it's messed up, but it's really not. It's when I put the color, the background color on, that it just did that. I'm just going to do this here a little bit. Okay. All right, let's finish these leaves and then we're done. Still using my big 3/4 inch. Always use the largest brush you can use. I know it seems counterintuitive. For those of you that are just learning to paint, you're going to think I'm crazy. But if you use the largest brush, I think what you'll end up finding out is that you really, oops, too much paint. You really like it. In the long run, it'll give you the smoothest strokes. And here I'm just touching the edges because I don't want to lose them when I fire, because all this line work is going to go away. So I want to make sure I know where everything was. So full load of moss, side load of shading, and I'm going right here. There we go, coming down the side. Ta-da! I'm not doing the, well, maybe on this one I will do a few there. But as I get down into the bottom part here, I'm not going to make these as much of a show leaf as the other ones. I'm just going to let them be themselves. Because the more you put on these, the more they take away from the focal point, which is going to be up in here. Oh, I need to put my stems on my... All right. I need to put my stems on those guys. Oh, I hate putting stems on. why don't I just wipe out where the stem will be and put the stem in the next time? That might work better anyway. So let's do this. And then I'm going to tap it with my finger or a brush, because you don't want there to be a sharp line there. And there will be, because I'm using an eraser, one of these Paintnporcelain things. One there, there, and one there. Someone used to tell me, take your finger and rub it on your jeans. You can also, it'll get rid of the fingerprint and it'll make it, I think it was my first teacher said that. And it'll just get rid of the edge that comes up when you're using a, I need this. You're using one of those Paintnporcelain things or an eraser of some sort. There, that's better. There. There. Okay. There. But this is how it turned out. I don't really think it matters. I think you could probably see. I'm real thrilled with this, but now that I'm looking at it, right here in the middle, I think I need to bring the reds out a little more. Does this look better? I think it does. I brought the purples down here and out to the sides a little more, because I think that if I just leave it without it coming down behind the branches, next time if I wanted to do shadow leaves or something, I'd be out of luck. So take a picture. This is important. Take a picture before you fire it the first time while the lines are still on it, so that then if you can't remember what something is after it fires, because it fired out so much, you have something to refer to. That's really, really, really important. Alrighty, pick up those brushes, keep painting, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye. 2 weeks.